Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Are we alive now? Okay. Take two. Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion. Delivered by conflicting media reports, we connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest. Eldonna Fernandez is with us, founder of Baskets and Beads Kenya, and a resume that might take the rest of the show, so we're just going to leave it right there. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, we are celebrating today. We are celebrating every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Now, yeah, Josh knows me way too well, but he's got one celebration on there. But I might have to just improvise a little bit here because today is National Be Bald and Be Free Day. I'm not completely bald, but I can name both hairs that are there. But then again, it's also having beaten anorexia. You know, this one, I'm sure that we've got a graphic for this one. Today's National Dessert Day. I like desserts. It doesn't do too well on my diet. I just shared yesterday, just crossed over the 90-pound mark, lost 90 pounds so far.
Wow.
So not using too many shots. I'm not using too many desserts right now. But, one of the nice things, and I'll have this conversation with my support group this evening. And yes, I still do go to the support group. I had bariatric bypass surgery in 2017. Lost 162 pounds, gained some of it back. As you've been watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv or any of our socials, I have shared quite openly that I went on these shots. I couldn't afford the Monjaro and the Zepbound, and insurance companies only say it's for people that are overweight. Well, I was at 357 pounds, a BMI of about 41. I guess that doesn't count as overweight in the minds of insurance companies. My A1C was up at about 6.5. 6.4 is where they call diabetic. That doesn't count as needing diabetic assistance. So I went off label. No, those of you that watch me know I'm a little bit of a contrarian. So rsrlinks.com/shot if you want to follow that journey. And it's way cheaper than going with these branded things. But I still like my desserts. And one of the things we'll talk about now that I'm an OG on the support group that I go to this afternoon is how do you deal with the holidays when you're on a weight loss journey? Well, do us this study and let me know if you go and get your favorite dessert. And by the way, Josh, I don't even know if we can do this today because we're having some technical problems. Question of the day, what is your favorite all-time dessert? And I'll just tell you, I love carrot cake, but I digress. But here's the thing, when you're trying to deal with the holidays and you're on a weight loss journey, how do you do it? It's called one bite. So right after I had my bypass surgery in 2007, I had that in October. So, you got to the holidays and you still couldn't really eat anything. How do you go to Thanksgiving? And I enjoy Thanksgiving. One bite. So every item that's on the table that's available to you, try one bite. Now, my guess is if you have a second bite, it's going to taste just like the first bite. So one bite. Now, I like all of the stuff. So one bite. So carrot cake, one bite. Turkey, yeah. But if you put the gravy on there, sweet potato, or the yams with marshmallow on top, stuffing, go through it. It's kind of funny when you're used to being 425 pounds, which is what I was before the bariatric surgery. You go and you get a plate of food at Thanksgiving and you got one bite of 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different things and it looks empty. Now, as I'm gone through this journey on the shot, basically my meals are served in a ramekin and I'm satisfied. Now, yes, because of that, I do have 3 or 4 protein shakes a day, but it's a whole different ballgame. So what is your favorite all-time dessert? Josh, do you have a favorite all-time dessert on there? Eldonna, do you have a favorite all-time dessert?
Anything chocolate.
Anything chocolate. I'll go with that one. Anything chocolate. Yeah. I used to be a chocoholic, but for some reason I've kind of gotten away from as much chocolate as I was. But you can't go wrong with chocolate. Hey, let's take a look and see what the markets are doing today because this is a home and finance show and anything else that I feel would benefit you. So we are watching don't worry about anything coming out of the government. The reports that are coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics right now, oh, wait, there's none. So they're just as accurate as when they give them to us because they're always wrong anyway. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 149 points. The NASDAQ is down 128. S&P 500 is down 7. Oil, wow, oil is down $1.01 a barrel. Yeah, I like that. But, some of you, depending upon where you're listening to us right now, you're probably seeing gas prices drop. Now, I am in Calizuela, so our gas prices don't drop. They just go up. National average of a gallon of gasoline right now, $3.07 a gallon. A week ago, it was $3.12. Calizuela, we're at 465.7. A week ago, it was 465.5. So thanks, Gavin. We appreciate all of your, yeah, you know better than that.
You know better than that.
We appreciate all of Gavin's efforts right now as he tries to take over the congressional seats. Have you watched any of this stuff on Prop 50? So we go from having a independent commission that we voted for setting our congressional districts to now having Gavin setting them. That sure makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? And he says, well, we want to bring back our Constitution. We want to make this fair. I guess fair if your name is Gavin and you can get him away from the French Laundry if you remember that story. But that's a whole different area. It is amazing. We're watching the 10-year Treasury went down, touched that 4.0. It's going to be tough to get through that barrier. It's a psychological barrier. There's nothing really fancy there that's holding us to 4.0. And we do watch that. There is some meaningfulness to that. We're looking at the 10-year treasury. The mortgage bond. That's up 2 basis points. Not enough to mean anything, but when the bond goes up, interest rates go down. But up 2 basis points doesn't really carry too much weight, so that's not meaningful at all. But we're going to talk a little bit about these things when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. How about dealing with a hand up instead of a hand out? I guess you got to go to Kenya for that because it doesn't work in California. We like handouts. 1 in 5 sellers are dropping their price. 5 critical credit mistakes home buyers make, all that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. And every day at this time, OBM and they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you put in your mortgage calculator to figure out what your principal and interest payment will be. Now, APR, that's a government number. They don't think you're smart enough to figure out what the actual costs are of a loan, so they build it in there. And those that understand the APR can manipulate the APR just by depending upon what they put in as their interim interest charge. The note rate doesn't change, so that's the more important number in my opinion, and I'm right. And you just put that in the mortgage calculator to figure out what your payment is, principal and interest payment. What did rates do yesterday?
You know better than that.
They didn't do anything yesterday because the bond market was closed for Columbus Day. So the latest data we have is from Friday. What happened? Conventional 30-year fix down 6.256. Jumbo 30-year fix down 6.428. FHA 30-year fix, that was up 6.165. VA, the best loan on the market for our veterans, they earned it. 5.836. That was down. In the USDA loan, 30-year fix, 6.192. That one was up. What are the markets doing today? Well, as always, we've already posted our information there. If you go to the Ron Siegel Radio community, each and every business day morning, we post our thoughts about the market in the community, and it's free to you. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. Household Board of Directors is what that stands for. And let's see what the markets are doing. So we've got the S&P 500 is up 4.33. The 10-year Treasury is down. It's up a little bit, 4.046. The mortgage bond has come back a little from when I last reported it. It's up 1 basis point, not enough to really matter. But what's driving the market right now? Well, it's some of the same old is what we can say right here. We've got day 14 of the government shutdown. Only essential workers are there. Now, I run businesses. I've run businesses for the last 40 years. You know what happened to non-essential workers? They weren't employed by us. They were non-essential. We keep the essential ones. Just throwing that out. Of course, we had to pay them too. We couldn't say you have to go to work and not get paid. Only in the government, right? Let's see. Helping bonds improve is increased. This is not a good one, but it is what it is. Helping bonds to improve is the trade tensions between the U.S. and China.
It is what it is.
Last week, China said they would not allow their rare earth minerals to be used by U.S. military. As a result, the U.S. announced 100% tariffs on imported Chinese goods starting November 1. Ow! Last night, China retaliated and sanctioned 5 U.S. subsidiaries of a South Korean shipping company. The back and forth and escalation is pressuring risks on assets and helping global yields. Oil prices have recently moved lower to $58.25 a barrel. Oil is at its lowest price since May. If oil were to remain at these levels, prices at the pump would have a good chance of breaking under $3 a gallon nationally, not in California, because
You know better than that.
yeah, it doesn't happen here. Could head toward $2.50 for around the country. Oil is so important for everything, as every good that is produced and shipped uses oil to some degree. So it could be a good thing for inflation. Think about this. So if the tariffs go up and oil goes down, do they offset each other? Yes, they do. September Consumer Price Index inflation report will be released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on October 24th. It's a good thing we'll be getting this report, especially with Social Security adjustments due by the end of the month. It also gives the Fed some data they can look at ahead of their October 29th rate cut decision. Speaking of Fed cuts, Philly Fed President Anna Paulson spoke this morning and said that she was in favor of 2 more cuts this year, but she doesn't get a vote. Her vote's as important as yours and mine. She's on the board, but is not a voting member. Day 14 of the government shutdown, one of the keys to ending it may be pressure on air traffic controllers. We're already seeing flight delays as a result of the shutdown, and today's paycheck for ATC is only 70% of the normal paycheck. Their next paycheck due October 28th will be the first full one missed unless there is a resolution. Once flights start getting delayed further or canceled altogether, as many of these workers may not want to do so for free. Would you want to go to work for free? Unbelievable. Now, here's the irony. What if some of the Congress people are trying to get on a plane going back to Washington and their flight is canceled or delayed because there's no ATC workers? Goldman Sachs released a report analyzing who is paying tariffs. They found that the exporting countries are paying 25% of it, which is most ideal cohort to pay the tariffs for the U.S. Additionally, 25% of the tariffs are being paid by the supply chain, and the other 50% is being paid by consumers. As I've shared with you over and over again, we're not going to really see the tariffs too much anyway, especially the longer that this takes with China. Why? Because the supply chain will move. I imported goods for many, many decades when I was in the import-export business. And when they put big tariffs on any one country, what did we do? We stopped buying from that one country. We went to a different country. So if they put a tariff, the one I always refer to is, I don't know, in the 80s or 90s, there was a big tariff put on photo albums out of China. They were subsidizing them, sending them here way too cheap. What did we do? We started buying them from Korea. So the tariff never ended up getting passed along, but it did affect China. And I think that's what's going to happen right now is China's economy is already collapsing, and they send more goods to the U.S. than we buy from them. And oh, by the way, if we finally start getting our industrial complex back in order, did you know that we have more rare earths in the United States than they have in China? We just haven't been doing any mining of them. Maybe if we start mining them, that'll change the outlook a little bit. It'll maybe balance a little bit. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. So let's chat today. And I'm going to see, I think, did we lose Josh here? I think his internet's in and out. So I'm going to try to drive things a little bit here if I can. I think this is the right button right here. There we go. What if the negotiation skills you use for $1 million military contracts could help you get a better deal on your next home purchase? Today's guest is Master Sergeant Eldonna Fernandez, retired from the U.S. Air Force after, 23 years as a contract specialist, negotiated hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts, and authored the book, Think Like a Negotiator. But here's the part that really caught my attention. In 2018, Eldonna founded Baskets and Beads Kenya, helping women in extreme poverty build sustainable businesses through fair trade. Fair trade, that's an interesting one right now. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or negotiating everyday financial decisions, Eldonna's expertise will be valuable. Plus, her story about service and community impact is something we can all learn from. Welcome to the show, Eldonna.
Awesome sauce. Thanks for having me, Ron.
Glad to have you with us. So 23 years in the military.
I didn't intend to do 23. I only intended to do 4 and woke up one day and it was 23 years later. And I enjoyed everything that I learned in the military and contracts and negotiation, and I apply it in everyday life.
So when you're dealing with contracts in the military, I mean, it's nice, I guess, because you get to spend somebody else's money.
Right, exactly.
But are you negotiating more for the product you want, or is it price, or are you trying to get everything into it?
Everything, price, terms and conditions, whatever. You have to look at the whole proposals. You look over everything that they're offering. Is that acceptable? Payment terms, delivery schedule, price, all of that goes into it. So a lot of us that kind of think that, the government just spends willy-nilly, maybe that's not quite the case. That isn't quite the case. You've probably heard those stories about the, $10,000 toilet seat, right, and the hammers and things like that. That I never experienced anything like that. We have a lot of regulations that we have to follow, and I always got a good deal for the government.
Well, not for the government, for the people of the United States, right? I mean, because
right.
We are the government.
Right, true.
So what made you join the military?
Well, I had a pretty rough upbringing. Both of my parents were alcoholics. My mother died of alcoholism when I was 12. I dropped out of high school. Going down the bad path, and saw a commercial one day. Air Force, a great way of life. And to me, it sounded like an adventure. And I joined the Air Force and stumbled into the contracting career field by accident. Got 3 college degrees and a great experience in contracts and negotiation.
So how did you go from Air Force to Baskets and Beads?
Well, I retired from the Air Force in 2003, went to work for some defense contractors doing the same contracts management negotiation. And I was doing a lot of speaking. When I wrote my book, I was speaking at a lot of outlets, and I was at an event where there was a pastor there who was raising some money to go help hurricane victims in 2017 down in the Houston area. And he started talking to me about the 20 years he'd spent going to Kenya. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I can go serve there. Service before self is an Air Force core value. And I thought, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm speaking. I served some veterans through some things, but I decided to go to Kenya and be of service.
And the Air Force taught you something about that, or how did the two tie in?
Well, service before self is one of the Air Force core values. And I always say that service finds you. I think everybody has the opportunity to be of service somewhere. You don't have to go all the way to Kenya like I did, but you can serve somebody next door that may need something. But I really felt the importance of being of service to other people. So I thought I would go to Kenya and put that core value to work.
How did you pick Kenya? I mean, you got a whole world out there and you picked Kenya.
I think it picked me because the pastor was next to me. He had a booth next to me at the event where I was speaking. And I sat and talked to him for about 2 hours, and then went to another event where he was actually highlighting the work he was doing in Kenya and attempting to raise money. And they were talking about the trips they had to Kenya. And it just pulled on my heartstrings. I thought, oh, this might be a good place to go. I'll go for one trip and help and be of service.
Interesting. When we come back, I want to learn more about Baskets and Beads and your journey and how you're taking these contract negotiations experiences and helping over there. So we're going to talk about that When we come back, we're going to also talk about 1 in 5 sellers dropping their price. Why are they doing that? They haven't been listening to Ron Siegel Radio, unfortunately. We'll also talk about 5 critical credit mistakes home buyers make. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by where is rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. 1 in 5 sellers are dropping their price. Here's a number that might surprise you. Again, 1 in 5 home sellers is dropping their asking price right now. That's 20% of all sellers cutting their price. So what does this mean for you? I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Let me tell you about a conversation I had last week. A buyer came to me frustrated. She'd been looking at homes for 3 months and felt like every property was priced too high. I showed her the latest numbers and her eyes lit up. According to Realtor.com, 1 out of every 5 sellers is reducing their asking price. Think about that for a moment. If you're looking at 10 homes this weekend, 2 of those sellers have already admitted they're priced too high. Now, here's what most buyers don't realize. When you see a price reduction, that seller is telling you something important. They're motivated. Maybe the home's been sitting on the market longer than expected. Maybe they need to move for a job. Maybe they just finally listened to their realtor about realistic pricing. But here's the real opportunity. If 1 in 5 sellers has already dropped their price, how many more are thinking about it? How many are sitting in their living room right now wondering if they should reduce next week? This is where strategy comes in. And remember, strategy beats rate always. Let me share what happened with that buyer. I mentioned we found a home listed at $725. It had been on the market for 47 days. The sellers had already dropped the price once from $749. We did our homework. We looked at what similar homes actually sold for, not what they were listed at. We put together a total cost analysis showing exactly what our monthly budget could handle. Then we made an offer at $695 with specific terms that worked for both sides. The sellers countered at $705, closed the deal. She saved $44,000 from the original asking price. More importantly, her monthly payment fit comfortably in her household budget. Here's what buyers need to understand right now. This market shift isn't about getting a steal. It's about getting a fair deal and structuring your finance strategically. When I work with buyers in this environment, we look at 3 things: safety, liquidity, and return. Safety means not overextending your budget just because sellers are more flexible. Liquidity means keeping enough cash reserves after closing, and return means thinking about how this home fits into your long-term wealth building strategy. Had another client who got caught up in the excitement of negotiating. The seller dropped $30,000 off the price. My client wanted to put every dollar toward the down payment to lower his monthly cost. But when we ran the numbers through our total cost analysis, we found something interesting. By keeping more cash liquid and restructuring the mortgage differently, he actually improved his household blended interest rate across all his debt. His monthly cash flow improved by over $400. That's real money coming back into the household budget every month. So what does this mean for you if you're thinking about buying? Now's the time to be strategic. Work with professionals who understand that suitability matters more than just eligibility. Don't just ask what you can qualify, ask what makes sense for your total financial picture. And if you're working with a realtor, make sure they know about our Second Look Advantage program, where we'll take a look at anybody's structure and see if it makes sense for you. Maybe there's something better, maybe there's something being missed, or maybe you've got a great deal. We can review financing offers to make sure you're getting the best structure for your situation, not just the lowest rate. And hey, instead of cutting down the price, why don't you use that money to help buy down the interest rate, which will save you a lot more money over time? Want to see how this market shift could work for you? Just visit our key steps, rsrlinks.com/keystep, rsrlink.com/keysteps. We'll look at your specific situation and show you exactly what's possible. Remember, 1 in 5 sellers is already cutting their price. The question is, are you positioned to take advantage of this opportunity strategically? I'm Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. And that is the Real-Time Real Estate segment, brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. We are continuing our conversation this morning with Eldonna Fernandez. We're talking about helping others. You know, I love the idea of service. And I've often talked that one of the things we did on Ron Siegel Radio when we very first started the broadcast, 2010, is we always left time if we had nonprofit organizations that wanted to come in here and share about what they had going on. Just because if we got a megaphone and don't use it, what good are we? So the question is, Eldonna, when did you get started with baskets and beads? What got you interested in it? And how did you meet the ladies that you work with today?
Well, I went on a mission trip in 2018, and we went and served a lot of different groups. We went to different clinics, schools, kids on the streets. And one of the last places we visited was a place called the Kipsongo Slum, where the ladies live, and met them. They greeted us. We took them supplies and food and blankets. I had raised some money and brought some socks and underwear for kids, and met these women. One of them gifted me a handcrafted paper bead necklace made out of magazines and wanted sponsorship for her son to go to school. And then there were a few ladies that had some products, and found out later that they had taken a microloan from somebody else on a previous trip to be able to start a bead making business. And that night I was tossing and turning and had this idea to buy some beads and sell them with my book when I was speaking, and gathered up about 5 or I think it was about 10 ladies to begin with, and got about a third of a suitcase of beads, brought them back and started selling them with my book when I was speaking, just to be of service for just a little bit, I thought.
Yeah, a little bit can sometimes gross. Is there something unique or special about the beads? I mean, what makes it that these products are something that is different than what we already have?
Well, they're handmade. Some of them are sustainable because they come from recycled magazines, but there is the term fair trade. It's fair trade means that you have a clear line of sight through the supply chain. And that it's between me and the women. There's no middle person. There's no slave labor. There's no forced labor. They get paid fairly and promptly. We respect their cultural identity. And we do a lot of things to ensure that they are going to build sustainable income that they can support their families with.
You know something, I love the idea of this, of teaching them the sustainable income, right? Because I mean, you could go over there and like you said, you brought some underwear and some stuff with you, but you know, that only lasts so long, right? If you're teaching them how to build a business, I mean, I guess they can make the beads, we know, but building the business, I guess, is a whole new section. Now you're getting into education too, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And these ladies live below the poverty line in a slum, little mud huts, no kitchens, bathrooms, or running water. They were trafficking themselves, picking food scraps from a dumpster, or selling illegal alcohol to survive. And they have what we call poverty mindset, thinking that they're just at that level. They're always going to stay there. They're never going to get out of it. We had to first work to get them to trust that we're not simply coming to give a handout, because that's what they were used to, just getting handouts, and build on the trust, help them to trust each other because they weren't used to working together as a group, and then teach them entrepreneurial skills so they understood how to operate a business, how to handle their finances, how to handle actually business transactions.
So the question that would come to me is, in some areas you look at it and you say, okay, people are happier getting the handout than getting the doing real work. Did you find that was different there? They wanted to learn. They wanted to have this opportunity, because I'm assuming they probably didn't even know these things, that their opportunity existed. Did they?
No, they actually assumed that their lot in life was, and there's thousands of people that live in this slum and other slums in Kenya. And we only have right now about 24 women. It's open to any woman that would like to come, but it requires you to change your thinking, change your mindset, develop some different skills that you're not used to having. So they had no concept that something like this was even possible. And now they have the belief and the skills, and they can see with the products selling here, and they still sell some there, that it is possible.
So you had to really, it's like a whole culture change for them.
Definitely culture change, mindset shift. We now have conferences. I go to Kenya once a year, and we have a entrepreneur and mindset building conference where we teach them entrepreneurial skills. We have different business owners there that we deal with, teach them skills. I teach them things about mindset and things that they can grab onto and know that their life is not this, that they can come out of that life.
How are they treated over there, being that, you've got such a small group of people as it relates to the overall size of these slums? Are they treated well, being that they're doing something that's, a lot of times the person that does something different, they get chastised by others? That's
definitely happened. They're looked at as the business women, but recently, this last year, we had some problems with other groups who have failed. Well, why hasn't this group failed? We want this group to fail. So there's a building that was built there by Comic Relief in 2003 that they use as their hall, and they used to do some of their work on the beads. Well, there was a group of people from the slum surrounding it saying, we're going to make sure this group fails. We're not going to let you in here. They said, okay, we'll just go over here, adapt and overcome, which I've taught them. We'll go over here and we'll meet and we'll do our things back in our huts again. You're not going to stop us. And that other group finally gave up, but they do come against that.
Yeah, it's fascinating how that happens when somebody tries to make themselves better. We even here you see it where someone starts doing real well, their friends want to pull them back instead of helping them out, and helping, pushing them forward, I guess is a better term, not helping.
Right. It's that crabs in a bucket mentality. The crab is attempting to get out. I always use it as a ladder. Somebody's climbing up the ladder to get out, and the people down here want to pull them back down because they don't want to look at themselves, or they don't want to actually do the work to change. They know there's some work that comes with changing their mindset, and they don't want to do that. So, okay, come back down here with me so I can be comfortable staying where I'm at.
We're going to continue our conversation when we come back with Eldonna. We're going to talk about where do you get these beads? How can you help out these folks? And a little bit about a book. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
With local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage. Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 1990. Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. Picture this. You found the perfect home. You're ready to make an offer. Then the lender says no, not because you don't earn enough, but because something on your credit report you didn't even know about. Sound familiar? I'm Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today, I want to share 5 credit mistakes I see home buyers make all the time. The good news, every single one is fixable if you catch it early enough. Have you heard me talk about key steps? rsrlinks.com/key steps. That's how you catch it real early. Mistake number 1, waiting too long to check your credit. Had a client call me 2 weeks before they wanted to close on a house. They'd been pre-approved months earlier, but nobody had looked at their credit since then. Turns out a medical collection had popped up that knocked their score down 40 points. Now we had to scramble to resolve it, and they nearly lost the property. Here's what I tell everyone. Check your credit at least 3 to 6 months before you start house hunting. Go to annualcreditreport.com. It's free and it's official. Why so early? Because fixing credit issues takes time. Collections, late payments, even errors on your report, they can all be resolved, but not overnight. Mistake number 2, maxing out credit cards. This one surprises people. Your credit utilization, that's how much of your available credit you're using, makes up 30% of your FICO score. Let's say you have a $5,000 credit limit, but you're carrying a $4,800 balance. That's 96% utilization. It could drop your score 50 to 100 points. Even if you pay it off every month, a high balance at the wrong time can kill your mortgage approval. Keep your utilization below 30% and ideally under 10% when you're getting ready to apply. Just remember, that's why I have done the video for you. rsrccpayment.com, rsrccpayment.com. We've had so many people that pay their credit card bill the wrong way. And if you are one of them that pays it right after you get the statement, congratulations, you're one of those that pays it the wrong way. Mistake number 3, paying off old collections without a plan. Someone has a collection from 2019, maybe an old cable bill, and they're thinking paying it off will help their credit. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it actually makes things worse by resetting the date of last activity on your report. Collections can stay on your credit report for up to 7 years, and lenders don't like seeing them. But there are strategic ways to handle them. Goodwill removals, disputes, pay for deletion agreements. Don't just write a check without understanding the consequences. Mistake number 4, opening new credit right before closing your loan. This breaks my heart every time. Someone gets their mortgage approved, gets excited, and then goes out and finances furniture or opens a new credit card. I've seen deals fall apart days before closing because of this. Every new application creates an inquiry. Every new account charge changes your debt-to-income ratio. Hold off on any new credit until after you have the keys in your hand. When in doubt, call your loan officer first. That's why we have the $500 rule. Don't charge anything over $500 without talking to us. Mistake number 5, avoiding credit help because of the stigma. Look, credit repair has got a bad reputation over the years, but here's the reality. Credit issues are fixable. I see people go from denied to approved all the time because they got educated and took action early. So what does this mean for you? If you're thinking about buying a home in the next year, start checking your credit now. Fix these issues early and you'll save yourself a world of headaches later. Want to see where your credit stands? rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. And remember, strategy beats rate always, but you need good credit to get either one. This is Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor. Thanks for watching the Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. Continuing our conversation this morning, we are chatting with Eldonna Fernandez. We're talking about a lot of education, a lot of service, and maybe you can join the service world. That's what we're going to chat about now. So where can listeners learn more about the information about baskets and beads, Eldonna?
Well, you can go to basketsandbeadskenya.org, and there are links there also to go to the purchase site for the products. There's information about the ladies and how you can support if you want to support through donations.
So when you're doing the donations, how's that affect things? I mean, obviously, I know you need money to keep an organization going, but are donations going to help the educate? Are they help bringing goods to the ladies? What can we do to help as far as
So the
that?
donations, there's a drop down menu that you can select. We have actually 13 kids in school, so that if you want to help keep the kids in school or put more kids in school to help pay their school fees. For the ladies, we do sometimes food packs or medical care. And then for our upcoming trip in Kenya, I'm going to Kenya in December for our entrepreneur conference, so the ladies can stay on site. And so we can cover things like food, their accommodation, and we always give them food packs when we're there. So things like that.
A lot of ways to help. You never think about some of the things when as a lay person, a radio guy, I don't think about, there's a lot of stuff that goes into trying to educate somebody to change their whole mindset. I mean, you're really starting ground up when you're talking to the ladies that have gone from being in the slums to now being entrepreneurs. They probably didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant before.
No, they really didn't. And like I mentioned, it took us probably about 2 years. It took about 2 years for them to trust me. I came and they thought, oh, here's another person coming from afar, just giving us stuff, and she'll never come back. She bought a few beads, she'll never come back. And I came back again. They thought, And I came back again and again. Probably about the fourth time I came back, they thought, oh, okay, maybe we can trust this. And got to that level. And then we had to teach them how to be able to be together as a community and work as a community, set up a board. We taught them something called table banking. Most of them don't have birth certificates or IDs, so they can't get a bank account. So we taught them to have a board to manage their money, and people pay into it to have that set aside. So if they have an emergency, they can go grab from it. And then we switched to teaching entrepreneurial skills to teach them how to manage their businesses, run their businesses, and have multiple streams of income.
So you were going once a year for those first 4 years?
The first 4 years, I went twice a year. Now it's once a year.
Yeah, because you would think that by the end of that year, they might forgot everything you taught them, right? Because you're saying that they're wondering, are you going to come back? Is it just a one and done type thing? So, that continuity of realizing, Eldonna's coming back again. And I guess there's some accountability to that too, isn't there?
Right. And we've actually taught them that, okay, some things that they didn't really understand was quality product, delivering on time. We have a director in Kenya that works directly with them. So we communicate between her and them and me. So if they need something, if somebody is ill, or maybe one of the kids needs something, some fee paid for some special trip or some testing like they're doing right now, they communicate to her, she communicates it to me, and they know that I'm consistently here for them, even when I'm afar.
Something nowadays with the way the world is, it's a small world. So, even though you're not right there, you can still be right there, I would assume, right? I mean, do they have electricity and internet and things like that?
They really, not within the slum. There's really very little electricity there, but they have cell phones that they pay on. And Kenya's actually really done something with technology with the M-Pesa system, where you can transfer money without having a bank account. It's kind of like how we use Zelle out of a bank account, but you can just put money on a card and then transfer it back and forth to people. So they're able to move money like that, and it makes it a lot easier for them.
So tell us just a little bit about your book, Think Like a Negotiator.
Think like a negotiator. That I always say that you have to create win-win results with people. And if you want to get a good deal for yourself, it's about first thinking like a negotiator. And I like to say that no is just an offer.
No, explain that one a little bit.
No is simply an offer. A lot of times people will get no, they'll ask for something and they'll get a no and they'll give up. But if you look at everything, offer, acceptance, rejection of offer, that's an offer. They've offered you no. You can counter that with something. You don't have to reject that and walk away. You can counter that with something to get a better deal for yourself.
Interesting. I like that they've offered no.
They've offered no. As a matter of fact, my Celebration of Impact event that's coming up November 1st in Irvine, I've been working to get nonprofit rates and get things going with the venue. And they told me that I couldn't get nonprofit rates because my nonprofit didn't support the community. That was a no. I didn't accept that. I said I'd like a waiver. They said, well, you can't get a waiver. I said, okay, why not? Well, the city council makes that decision. Okay, I'm going to the city council. So I contacted the city council. The city council went back to them. They contacted me and I got the nonprofit rates. I didn't take no for an answer. It was simply an offer.
Interesting. So you had to get creative as to figure, okay, what's no, and why no, so we can move to the next step to get to yes.
Right.
Interesting. And do you talk about that in the book?
No, that's going to be my next book. I do talk a little bit about offer and acceptance, but as I was thinking of expanding that book, I thought, okay, I need to write another book about no is just an offer, because so many people, not only in business, but in personal life, they get a no and okay, I'm going to walk away. I mean, people say no 3 times before they say yes. You have to simply go against it and say, I'm not going to accept that no. How do we get to yes? And there was a negotiation book called Getting to Yes. But when you think about it, the offer first is no. And if you accept that as simply an offer, you can counter that with something.
Interesting. Tell us a little about your event that's coming up.
Celebration of Impact, November 1st. It's an event to actually put out in the public what I'm doing in Kenya and give the public an idea to see the journey that we're doing, the things that we're doing, the work we're doing. The ambassador Ezra Chiloba from the LA Consulate Office will be in attendance. And it's a fundraiser, but it's also an event to let the community know that there's volunteer opportunities, there's opportunities to get involved in other ways, sharing it on social media, perhaps connecting us with sponsors that might want to give us a bigger donation. So it's November 1st at the Portola Springs Community Center in Irvine, California, just down the road from where we are right now. And it starts at 5:30 p.m. It's free. You can find that information through Eventbrite, Celebration of Impact, and register. And
is there information on your website on that as well?
The information's on social media. It's not on the website. It should be, but I need to fix that.
Okay, and on social media, what would we look under?
You can look under Baskets and Beads Kenya on Instagram, on Facebook, or my personal Facebook, Eldonna Lewis Fernandez.
Beautiful. And just give us a call, because I know where to find it as well. It's you can give me a call at 800-306-1990, because I've got the information here at Ron Siegel Radio. And as always, we ask you, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean, who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.